Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week, and halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. We've spun it off. We're at 107. If I was really thinking about getting a question, how would I do that?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning I put a post out with Zach and I holding coffees. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Love your show and the couple reviews. Thank you. Wanted to know your thoughts on a 2012 to 2016 Volvo XC-60 V6. How's the reliability and safety? P.S. Wife is a first-time driver and a 10-month-old.
Well, hopefully the 10-month-old won't be driving. I think you're looking for something safe, and a Volvo is a good choice. Volvo's reliability over the years hasn't been stellar, but we get all kinds of people with feedback saying they've had Volvos and they love them.
I don't know. I'd be leery about an older model Volvo for reliability issues. Obviously, it's not going to have all of the safety of the current models, but Volvo always did a really good job with safety features. I don't know, depending on each model. Obviously, the 2016 is going to have more than the 2012 model. Consumer Reports basically gives it a terrible reliability score. The best model I went through all the years is the 2016 model. So if you are going to do it, that's the one. We
are not huge fans of Volvos because of reliability. And then we say that, and then loads of people pile in and say, we've had Volvos, we've had nothing but great success.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we just reflecting the feedback is that, and the research is, there's lots of good choices out there. If you've got a first car, you want to buy used, you can't go wrong with a used RAV4 hybrid, for example.
Yeah.
If you're just using it to shuttle around your baby and your wife learns to drive, that'd be a good first car, and there's loads of used ones.
And you're looking at more of a premium brand, so why don't you look at something like an Acura RDX? I would say 2020 and above for that model is more reliable. And you could go with a Lexus NX. I mean, that one is extremely reliable.
Okay, so you're looking at a 2012 roughly, because obviously the price point, you need to be able to bite that off, right? I get it.
Yeah.
So back to the RDX. If this is a great option, actually. I'm glad you brought up RDX. Thanks for that, Andrea. So before 2019, so up to 2018, they had the V6 RDX. Now it wasn't, the newest, latest technology on the inside. So I would look for like a 17 or 18 RDX with the latest, and they did some minor tweaks to the dash in those models. That thing, if you bought one, would run forever. It's the V6, regular automatic transmission, and that is like a bulletproof car.
So the two to look at, the Acura RDX, some of those earlier models, and then the Lexus NX. Both are terrific. You make a great team. Thank you. Thank you for your highly informative and enjoyable content. What use is J.D. Power's 3-year dependability study when the average age of vehicles on U.S. roads is 12 years? Sure, after that, owner upkeep is more relevant, but I plan to drive my car for 15 plus years. So how do I tell the difference between a highly rated Kia or a Hyundai that makes a good 3-year lease and a Toyota or Buick that makes a great 15-year purchase? That is true. We spoke to J.D. Power about this, and how good is that dependability study later on in the years as vehicles age? Because it's only a 3-year study, and they said typically you see things at the beginning that the vehicle is more reliable or unreliable, the brand is more reliable, unreliable. But the Acura RDX, back to the RDX, is a perfect example of how poorly it performed initially, and I'm sure that would have brought Acura's scores down.
Let's just be clear, the year, 2019. Okay, we want to be clear because it refers to the previous question. You want to look, if you're looking for that one is older than the 2019, then they fixed it.
So 2019, 2020, and 2021 had a lot of issues, but they have fixed it now, and it is a very reliable vehicle. 2023, 2024, when 2025 comes. So I think that there is a little bit going on in the studies, but you're right. No one is to know, really.
They used to have a 5-year dependability study, and J.D. Power got rid of it because they realized after 3 years, a lot of how cars are doing in the marketplace is based on how the owner looks after it. So if you're buying a car from someone that's dedicated to the maintenance and getting it in, oil change, all that kind of stuff, then you've got a better shot. Which is why I always say when you buy a used car, you buy the owner, not the car. You want to look for someone that is dedicated to looking after it. Yeah. So I think what you're referring to is, okay, so if a car after 3 years, I like it, but has it really got 150,000 kilometers or miles on it? Are you getting engine wear fail items at those low miles for the first 3 years? You're not. You have to drive them 6, 8, 10 years to start to see where those fail items are. We don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball. All you can do is go on historical data, what brands have done well in those departments, and that's it.
And you could look at Honda and Lexus and Toyota and say, and Acura, and boy, these are reliable brands. Over the years, they've proven themselves, but that doesn't mean that Lexus and Toyota, with new vehicles and new powertrains, won't have issues. And because they're new powertrains, we don't know what the long-term effects are of them. So a lot of people will buy a Toyota or a Honda because that makes them feel comfortable long-term. And they have proven themselves. These brands are dependable brands.
Same thing. You want to look at products that have been in the market for a long period of time and have a track record. So do you want to buy the first year of a new, even a Toyota hybrid technology, for example, the Hybrid Max?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be fine, but if there was going to be a problem, it would be with the new technology.
Yeah.
If you want to buy one and keep it 10, 15 years, buy one that has been like an existing hybrid that has been proven in the marketplace for many years and keep that one.
Yes. You have showcased the high cost of EV battery replacement in the past. Is there any data on battery repair brand to brand? For instance, GM's Ultium battery design seems to be modular. Is it repairable rather needing to be fully replaced in instances of damage? Great question. If you find the answer, let us know.
The thing is, I was sitting over here waiting. It was like, has Andrea found, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Because
No.
I don't think it exists. Nobody will tell us this. The
No.
car brands will not answer this question.
Actually, they don't really want to say that a battery on their EV, let's say, and this is on the low end battery replacement cost, this amount I'm going to give, $25,000. Nobody.
But that's what a Tesla is. Like a Tesla you can get for 25 grand.
Yes. But let's say there are other brands, then let's just say it is 25,000. They don't want that number out there. They don't want to discuss what battery replacement costs are. Volkswagen tells us that they can change the cells within their battery. So that would lower the cost, but has anybody have a Volkswagen ID4 where the battery's been impacted and the cells were changed within that battery? Or did the whole battery get replaced, and how much was that? And
So
did the vehicle get written off? These are the things we don't know.
So theoretically, the answer is yes. You can replace cells in a battery, and that should be able to be done. So if you have one part of the battery that's damaged, well, we'll just take that part out and put a new part in. The problem these car companies have is who's going to do that? You have to train specific techs and probably have specific infrastructures to deal with that. They haven't built all that out yet.
No.
So if you were like General Motors with the Ultium platform with great ambitions to sell hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them, well, they better have techs and tech centers around North America where they can actually service these batteries. My guess is, Andrea, that doesn't exist yet.
No. And I mean, I don't believe it does. But also, as we produce more and more batteries, that's going to lower the cost of batteries. But are we going to replace the whole battery, or are we going to replace cells within the battery? And what's the cost of that? What, $5,000 up to
$1 million, $1 million.
We just don't know. And manufacturers, like if you think about it, why would they want to discuss it? You know, you've got an EV that you're trying to sell, and EV sales, although up, are not at the rate that manufacturers had hoped that they would be at. So why do you want to throw a battery in? We've got someone who owned a plug-in hybrid, a viewer, and he found out from the dealership. Well, he asked the dealership. He'd already purchased it. I'm not even going to say what the vehicle is, but he said to the dealership, well, how much would it cost to replace the battery in this? The dealership laughed. The salesperson laughed and said, you don't want to know. And he says, actually, I do want to know. And he didn't like the price that was given, and he sold his vehicle. Yeah. Hello, just started learning manual. What are some cars you all enjoy driving manual besides Miata, as Miata is always the answer? I was looking at an older BMW Z3 or Z4, Z3, Z4. We were just talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that the Z4 is now available for 2024 with a manual. And we're getting all excited and we're like, maybe we make a switch. But anyway, we're not doing that right now. Too many cars. I was going to say a Honda Civic is the best to learn on.
Honda Civic, super easy. Mazda, if you were to go for, I guess you want a sporty car. I was thinking like Mazda 3 with a manual. That's always fun. Obviously, Miata is great. I love BMWs and Hondas. Those are winners.
So back to your Z3 or Z3 and 4 is that BMW manual transmissions for decades were the kind of gold standard in many ways. Really beautiful shifting transmissions. So yeah, if you're learning to drive and you want a sporty little convertible roadster like that, yeah, why not? You learn on it.
I think they're gorgeous looking. I like them a lot. You know which other one, but I don't know. I guess the older days, the Audi TT. I know you're not a big fan of that.
Never was.
But I love the look of that. I don't know. I'm a big fan of that Audi. Enjoy your reviews. Will you get to review the GM EVs? Yes.
We get one next week.
Yeah, we got the Blazer coming. Looking forward to driving that one. We drove the Honda Prologue, of course, and they both share the same platform. So I'd like to see the differences between the two.
So at the dealer, I saw the Equinox.
Oh, good.
EV.
So it's here.
I'm not sure if it's a press car or it's one of their units to sell. But yeah, so the Equinox are starting to roll in now. And you know what? If you squint from 50 paces, the Blazer and the Equinox look kind of the same.
Yeah, hard to tell the difference.
Especially because the one they always use in pictures is the RS, the Blazer RS. But when you just get sort of like base or, lower trim spec, maybe the Equinox is just the way to go. But anyway, they're starting to arrive now.
Yeah, well, they're coming, so just stay tuned for that. Great show, guys. Thank you. When do you feel the best time to buy a new car will be in 2024? After or before the 2025 arrivals? New Year's Eve day? Typically at the end of the year, for sure. That's where they will give some discounts. Maybe it's possible they might lower the interest rates on certain vehicles. I think it really depends on the brand and it depends on the vehicle. If you're looking at a hybrid, you'll be hard pressed to find a Toyota hybrid left in the same year.
So you can play the game and wait it out until the new year arrives, because once the new year arrives, the car is technically now a one-year-old car. And so there will be incentives in play. So if you go on a lot in January and always wait till the end of the month and have a look around, you're not going to be able to pick the color. You might not get the color you want or the specific spec you want. But if there is a 2023 sitting there, you're definitely going to get a better deal on that. But remember, you're buying a one-year-old calendar car. It's not old, it's never been registered, but calendar-wise, it is a year old. Back to the GM dealer today, picking it up. I was walking through the showroom to go and see our guy Bob, and they had a Buick. Don't tell me, Andrea. They had a Buick Envision sitting there.
Oh,
and I looked in the window. Yeah, and I looked in the window, which is the one we just drove, right?
Yeah.
And I looked in the window and I'm like, how come the dash looks different? And then I stepped back. It was the same color too. It was the same blue. And I stepped back and I look at the plaque on the side of the car and it was a 2023. So they've got a 2023 there. And it's almost, we're getting set for the 2025s to arrive. You could go in there and hammer them on price. So that's what you can do.
Yeah,
Play
and
deal.
I wonder if that was brought back, if they decided to upgrade, like if that was a lease and they got
No,
out of their
it
lease.
was a brand new. It was in the brand new section. Brand new. It's still had the new car smell and everything.
Oh, wow.
I remember
Interesting.
years ago there was a Chrysler dealer when I used to host a TV show called Driving TV. It was right next to a huge Chrysler dealer, and we used to walk through the parking lot to go to lunch. And they had a Chrysler Crossfire convertible there, and the car was 3 years old, and it was still brand new, and they couldn't sell the thing.
I'm not surprised.
And
It's a Crossfire.
it looked kind of cool, but I was just thinking, like, can you imagine the kind of discount you get on that?
Yeah, I guess so. Or maybe they would just keep it within the dealership and let salespeople drive it. I don't know. I mean, they're not giving it away for nothing.
Put it
that's
in the
for
museum.
sure. I think that, like, for example, with our GTI, when we bought it, we ordered a 2023 model, and then we ended up getting bumped because there was just no inventory, and they were starting to produce 2024 models. And so we had to wait a long time for that vehicle. So it really depends on the vehicle and the brand. I'm curious about a high mileage lease. It seems like there's not a lot of information online, but I drive a lot, but always want a new car. How would I go about getting a high mileage lease? I reached out to Volkswagen about that here, and typically leases are 25,000 kilometers.
Which is, just to translate, that's around 18,000 miles.
And so the way it works for these, whether it's Volkswagen or other brands, is typically you can prepay for the extra mileage that you think you're going to put on. If you don't use that up, you don't get your money back. Now, if you decide to pay later after the lease is done, there is usually you're paying a little extra. So let's just use an example, 6 cents for prepaid miles, or 8 cents for paying later once you bring it and pay the penalty for the extra. I think it really depends. A lot of people know how much extra they're going to put on, so you may want to prepay that amount, and if there's any extra, then pay the 2 cent difference at the end.
If you have certainty in kind of the mileage you do every year, if you know you do, instead of, okay, so we'll use kilometers because it's where we live. So typical lease in Canada is like 20 to 25,000 miles. If you know you do 30, then, and it's consistent year to year, then you can do what Andrea says and prepay. If you don't, then you can just, pay after the fact.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe if it's really high and go way over, you might just want to buy the car out and then sell it, right? Or trade it in. But that's one of the problems with leasing, is you kind of need to be in that sweet spot of how many miles you do.
Yeah, for sure. Love your channel, Andrea and Zach. Thank you. Have you come across any automotive aftermarket sunroof products that won't leak? I have a Hyundai Elantra GT purchased used without a sunroof and missed the feature. Multiple auto body shops and dealers say they can install one leak-free. I'm very skeptical. The car is serviceable for my needs, so I don't want to buy another one now. Any thoughts? Love your channel. Thank you so much for being our auto advocates. You're welcome, and thank you for the nice comment.
Yeah, you can buy a sunroof for a car. What they do is they cut a hole in it and they put a seal around it, and they usually are just kind of like pop-up ones. They were often used in pickup trucks because a lot of pickup trucks came with basic stuff. You can get one put in. Depends on the kind of the car. Because if you put a cheap, I'm not saying it's cheap. I'm just saying an aftermarket sunroof in a car, will that affect the value of it? I'm not quite sure. But if you have an older car and you're keeping it, maybe you want to do that.
Online, I looked at some forums, and they said Webasto is a good brand to go with, but they're not sure if they're doing it anymore. They used to do a lot of sunroofs. The issue is there's no drainage system. If you have a vehicle that you buy, it all comes that way, and it has to be sealed perfectly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to have issues.
But they are they're really quite simple. There's just a gasket that goes around the side, and then the sunroof. The thing is with a sunroof like this, it's a cartridge, right? So if water gets in, then the what has to go down. But Andrea's right. It's all about how it's installed,
Yeah.
and they can do them. I think that Webasto, where they make motorhome stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a motorhome window, for example, they just cut it and they stick it in there. So it can be done.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the installer and how it's. But if it's installed properly, they should last.
I just feel, I understand because you bought the vehicle used and it didn't come with a sunroof and you're missing that feature now. But I'm just not sure I would want the hassle of it. I think that I would just go without it. There's just so many things online with leaky sunroofs, aftermarket sunroofs that have had this issue. And you may think that it's sealed perfectly, but
You don't know until you don't know.
yeah.
Until it starts leaking.
I just wouldn't want to deal with that issue.
And then
I'd just go without it.
And then you're up there with the caulking gun, putting a little bead around it. But that never looks good.
And then at that point, you totally regret doing it and say, why did I need it?
Yeah.
Hopefully you have a lighter headliner, maybe.
Yes, enjoy
That
your
always
car.
helps.
If you like your car,
Yeah.
and relish in the fact that you like your car.
Mm-hmm. Don't play with it. Just leave it as is.
But if
the
you
way
really
it
want to do
came.
it, it can be done.
Yes.
All right, we're all out of time, Andrea.
We are.
How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Zach and I are holding coffees. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show. Thanks for watching.
See you then.